He is the first person I reach out to when I need a good quote. He's in the last article I wrote, and I think the one before that. And you'll find out why tonight, and if you read his Substack. Reilly is the author of Magasin, one of the first shopping newsletters I ever subscribed to, and one of the people who convinced me to start my own newsletter. I open 1 million tabs whenever her name arrives in my inbox, and she's influenced me on many purchases, as I'm sure she has for you as well. And Rachel Tashjian wears many fabulous hats, although she's not wearing one today. You probably get that joke a lot. She is the fashion critic at the Washington Post and the author of Opulent Tips, the world's first invitation-only shopping newsletter, which is not on Substack, but you can read her dispatches from Fashion Month on the Washington Post new Substack, Post Fashion, which I'm very excited about. All right, I'm so excited. So my first question is, when you guys started your respective newsletters, what references were you looking at, if any? Like, what did you want it to sound like? What didn't you want it to sound like? I'm just curious, like, what was sort of on your reading list when you were starting it? For me, it was Racked, R.I.P. I loved Racked, but yeah, anyone wants to?
I could start.
Go ahead.
Well, honestly, it was informed by two old school magazine experiences that I'd had. One of which was working at Vanity Fair when Graydon was there, and the gift guide was put together by this woman named Punch Hutton. And this was the most important thing that Punch Hutton did for probably 6 months of the year. And the level of discernment that Punch had about we can't just put any children's Bentley from the Neiman Marcus catalog in the gift guide. It has to be the best children's Bentley. And I was always really struck by that kind of, that, as I said, the kind of discernment about these really strange and eccentric things. And the other was working at GQ with Will Welch, who, he would bring a bunch of us in to look at the market pages, which is, I think, something that a lot of that the three of us certainly have responded to in various ways with our work, and you too, Emilia, actually, yeah. But Will would always say, when we were looking at products, would you actually use this? Would you really wear this? And that was really shocking to me, because having worked at several fashion magazines and that sort of thing, that wasn't really a question actually you asked. It was sort of, what's the advertiser need? And so I guess that mix of taste, and then also feeling I could personally put my own endorsement behind something was what was really inspiring to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think, not to be so negative from my experience about it, but I feel like I came to similar conclusions by seeing what not to do. I had a great work experience coming from Meredith. I was at InStyle. I learned a million things from them. But it was kind of at the peak of this women's mass media trying to reach as many people with affiliate content, and it really kind of diluted the message, I think. So while it was an amazing learning experience, when I decided to go out on my own, I said I really need to kind of dig a lot deeper and figure out what I want to say and what's actually relevant and what the conversation really is going on with shoppers, and how to communicate that. So, I mean, I feel like you can kind of learn from great mentors and also from alternative experiences. That's called out.
Hello. Yes. So I started my newsletter I didn't really have the idea that I was going to start a shopping or newsletter. It was purely this idea of how can I find a creative outlet to take away the sadness. That's such a sad thing. So from my day-to-day job, I used to work at Saks, and not Slender Saks. But there were certain aspects about my job where I didn't really feel fulfilled in a creative sense. So I saw Substack as a way to get my thoughts about just fashion and whatnot out there. And of course, Rachel's newsletter is fantastic, and that was definitely inspiration also the writing of Andre Leon Talley, but also before I was at Saks, I used to freelance as a stylist assistant and also a freelance art editor. And the biggest sense of accomplishment that I got was when the fashion director would come and be like, we need 10 skirts, give me the best skirts ever. And then I would find skirts and then we'd shoot those skirts. That was, and so I also wanted to bring in that feeling as well of that sense of discovery of these are things that I am really excited about. And again, like that endorsement.
We're good. The three people up here, I'm sure, as you know, are just some of the best shoppers around, period. So I wanted to ask them a very general question, but a personal one, which, what makes someone a good shopper? Is it innate? Is it a skill that you can learn and practice? How did you become a good shopper? Did someone teach you? Did you go out and go? How did you arrive at where you are as a shopper?
I think I'm not as good of a shopper as I could be. I think good shoppers are really edited. I think you kind of spray it out there and you see what works, which is maybe not the best technique. But I think I arrived at shopping the way that I did through vintage. So shout out Kathleen, you know, what you're doing is very important. All the vintage curators out there, I think, are really helpful in helping people find their style and kind of having that path available to me from like vintage and thrifting. I mean, I do a lot of thrifting to sort of try things forever and then kind of see if something makes me feel good or not, or if it's just this sort of idea of who I am, but it's not really me. So I think it's just like experimentation, which I'm sure gets said a lot, but I think it's just life experience, really.
My very first memory, which I think I told you, was waking up in a mall. So I feel like I was born to shop.
So he's got a good quote every time.
But I think like my mother instilled this desire to shop since I was a child, since I can remember. And I think I've always had that curiosity of like what makes a good outfit, what makes someone really sing. And so also I grew up in the church, and the biggest compliment you could get at church, of course, was like, you look great. And so I also wanted... So I think I've always just had this curiosity around that. No, I had that. A curiosity around fashion and shopping and items, and I think that's the biggest. I think you can learn to be a good shopper, but I think you have to have this innate desire to have an like you want to explore and question and find new things.
Yeah, you know that tweet where it's like, I've just arrived in a new city with my wife, and she is like a 14th century Venetian count who knows just where to get all the right incense, textiles, and like little slippers. I feel like that's being a really good shopper. Like, I think Laura, like
that's you.
like it's like not. I think we overthink this idea of editing. Like, I think the shopping spree is powerful and like remains significant in film, television, and literature for a reason. Like, there's this amazing scene in the group where Lakey gets back from like becoming a lesbian in Europe, and she's like, all this stuff is like coming off of the boat, and everyone's like, oh my god, like she's queer now, but she bought so much stuff. Like, that's almost more shocking. I think buying a lot of stuff is like so great. You know, like, I think we should all be allowed to buy a lot of stuff.
Terrorists be damned.
So true. Since you guys have started your newsletters, I feel like, and I say this in a good way, there's so much shopping writing out there now, and I think it's different from the sort of blog boom that we saw. I just I read so many shopping newsletters now that I'm at the post office just constant. Like, I know them better than my own family because I'm clicking links, I'm buying so much, I want to go to so many stores. I'm just like, I want to cut through the noise a little bit though and ask, what makes a good shopping story? And do you need to be a good shopper to write a good shopping story? I think that's my, is it the thrill of the hunt? Is it a sense of trust? Is it a surprising curation? Becky, I think Malinsky has one of a great newsletter because it's so edited. It just it makes shopping fun. It makes shopping easy. Like, what are some things to you that make a good shopping story when you're writing your newsletter?
Well, I guess I would say one thing I was thinking about, Emilia, as you were laying that out, was I guess what many of the, at least your 3 newsletters and some of the others you mentioned have, is that you're all able to treat mood and ambiance and these things that seem sort of ephemeral as news or as information that's actionable. I mean, I remember the first time I opened your newsletter, Laura, I was like, this is like reading a newspaper. I mean, it's organized and reported and it's so thorough. And I think the two of you do the same as well, where it's there's so much human interest to what both of you do. And I think that is what propels something beyond a roundup of links is having that feeling of authority and storytelling and information.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that you're providing a service, and one that I'm very grateful for.
I would say that I would say that my shopping stories more so, usually on a Wednesday, it's kind of like a roundup situation, which is, I think, a common feature with a lot of Substacks where it's this roundup of films and whatnot. But the stories that I'm most passionate about and the ones that really get me excited are my lookbook stories, which really tap into the emotion and tap into the feelings that are abstract and how can you portray that in a look. And I think when I think about those, one thing not to bring up Saks again, but when I was at Saks, something that really frustrated me was, why are we not teaching our customers how to style their things in so many different ways? Because I think the other biggest thing we learned was that people were buying a lot of stuff, but they were also returning it. So my thought was okay, if you want to curtail people returning their items, you should show them 10 different ways of how to wear a flip-flop. And so that's what I think I really morphed in my newsletter in is I want to tap into, of course, the feelings that I'm feeling at the moment, what's happening on the runway, the moments that are happening, but also here's a flip-flop. These are 15 ways that you can wear a flip-flop and not feel lost.
And amazing ways, new exciting ways. I know that. It's exciting.
I feel whenever I see a shopping story or a segment or something and I'm I wish I wrote that, it's because the writer has found something that's happening in the ether and has been able to articulate it or distill it just on time. It's happening in the moment, and it's maybe it passes so quickly it doesn't matter. It's just about seeing it in that moment and calling it out and celebrating it for what it is. I'm always so mad whenever someone else gets it, but I'm happy that at least it's a thing and I can tell myself, well, I noticed it, But I think it's just about tapping into something that's maybe everyone's feeling or sensing or wondering, and it can be down to be super product specific or or nebulous like a brand, but it's just fun to see those things that unite us all in the subconscious.
Totally, and I think something that I really love about Substack too is that I'm not seeing the stories that are everyone on TikTok is wearing X, Y, and Z. I was so sick of writing those stories because I felt I didn't believe what I was even saying, and I didn't see these trends in real life. And so it's something that you all do is that it feels very real. It's you're either doing it yourself or you're seeing it yourself on the street. And so, like you said, it feels very timely and not made up, which I think some shopping stories can be made up. So much has changed since we started our newsletters. I'm curious, how have shopping newsletters shaped consumer habits in the last, I would say, 5-ish years? And this can be positively and negatively. Are they further contributing to everyone dressing the same? Are they encouraging, people to wear flip-flops in 50 different ways, both, all of the above? I'm just curious, how the newsletter boom has changed shopping, in your opinion.
I think one thing that I've noticed is that since newsletters, Substacks more so than invite only off platform. Sorry, I'll get the script up next time. But a lot of them are so like deeply linked to the affiliate world and the shopmai of it all. And obviously like that's a huge part of how I make my living. And so I'm always going to stand by that because I still think you can make great content and have that be part of it. But I think that the newsletter boom, the fashion newsletter boom is for those with less journalistic integrity maybe become a bit, it's created a lot of brands out of that in a way. And it's greatly favored brands that were early to the affiliate side of things, I think. And so it's kind of been a kingmaker, for better or worse. It's just something to kind of call out, I think.
Sure. Yeah, and this is not a bad thing, I wore them the other day, but like the newsletter hands. It's an interesting, it's like its own little ecosystem too.
Yeah, there are a lot of brands that are like, this is how women are really dressing now. They're all pants. They're all like kind of oversized pants. Then like a nice turtleneck. But I don't see anyone here wearing that outfit. So that's true.
It's very chic crowd.
Stand up if you are.
But
Go ahead. Go. No.
you go. But I was just going to piggyback off what we were saying. I think with the shopping newsletters, there are certain brands that have really risen to the top, like iSport. I think about the Sundial as well, Jamie Holler, like those shoes. So there are certain either brands that have really benefited from the exposure on Substack.
Yeah, they're smaller brands too, which is really cool to see. And something that I've enjoyed too is like getting to know these people behind these brands a bit more. And it's nice to, and I think something that I've learned just getting older is like, bigger publications can cover these bigger brands, and like we can also cover the small. Like there's enough for everybody to go around. It's not like sort of one or the other. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. How has it changed? Or how has it not changed? Maybe I'll say something positive. Well, I just like new stuff, So I like that now there are more people from, backgrounds that aren't necessarily like legacy media coming to Fashion Week, and that there are events like this that become a part of Fashion Week. I just think that's really cool and exciting. I also think the interesting turn, sorry, there's a fly around me. It's like we're in a Dutch still life or something. If we're recognizing that certain brands or certain styles are becoming associated with the platform in some way, that means that something else is about to happen, right? Like as soon as, to your point about like putting your finger on something, as soon as you can articulate it in fashion, it's like that means it's kind of over. So it'll be interesting to see a year ago, I wrote a piece where I talked, I think to maybe all three of you, about how this was just beginning. And that was only a year ago. So think of what's going to happen next. I think it's exciting.
No, it's amazing. I reread that article this morning, and I couldn't believe that was just last year. But yeah, and I'm really curious to see how fashion. It was about how. Sorry, we're chatting. The article was about Substackers are at Fashion Week, they're front row. Also, where do we put them? Which I thought was a really funny question. It's are they influencers? Are they writers? Or, I got put in a million different places, which is fine.
I think I put next to the podcast to be 7 times.
Oh, we are not podcasters yet. I want to end on a fun, positive note because I'm sure that everyone is dying to ask questions. What is the last thing you bought, and from where?
I went on a big eBay haul moment. Okay, so I just finished Empire of the Elite, and so I'm already a vintage magazine collector, so this spurred that even more. So in my haul, I bought a stack, a lot of House and Garden from the 80s, which I thought would include Anna Wintour's, but there were none of those to be seen. I bought a pre-Art Cooper GQ, February 1980. It actually had an ad for American Gigolo. And it arrived when Armani died, so major, I know.
Wait, that's so crazy.
I know.
Wait, so my thing that I bought a pair of Armani skirt pants. I saw Jennifer Lawrence wearing these like Paloma wool skirt pants, but they're sold out everywhere. So I thought Armani has to make something like this. And he did, of course, like 20 years ago, and I found them on Vestiaire, but then he died the day after they arrived.
You ordered them.
It's a major.
Fess up, Laura.
How are you on today?
Listen, I'm free from whatever ghosts you guys have.
And the last thing about were camo cargo. A lot of ghosts here. I bought camo cargo shorts at Wakanda Fitch.
We're gonna come on next. Last thing I bought, Emilia emailed us these questions ahead of time, so you know, and I got this email from her just as I was making a purchase, so I do remember what it was. And it was, I was in Paris, and there's a little store in the Six that I'd never been into before. It's called Sento, I think. It was really charming, like very chic, very like elegant Japanese women's store. And I got a like pin-tucked white box. That's what I want. Chic. It has been like 4 days since I bought anything, so watch out for talks.
Yeah, Phoebe Kylo's over there in front of, not the person, sorry.
Ghost.
All right, I'm sure everyone has questions.
Wait, Rachel, what did you buy? Oh, it was just the skirt cuts.
Okay, yes. Oh, yes.
I know you talked about surf. How long does each side swipe us?
The question is, how long does it take to decide what goes in a newsletter?
I publish like multiple times a week, so there's room for lots of stuff. I feel like there's that when I do a news send, that gets edited down a lot because there's just a ton of news out there always. And I wait until right before I'm actually going to publish it, basically to write everything so that it feels timely. And I go through my infinite list of things that are happening and have launched or sales that are going on, and just see what feels right. Like I'm kind of doing like a severance sort of, like, this just feels good, I'm gonna go with this one. So it doesn't take any, like, the editing, the like decision making doesn't take any time at all.
For my send out that is more like link focused, I have like a running notes of like things I want to talk about and whatnot. And then when I'm in the process of writing it, sometimes it's really down to if I'm tired or I'm like, okay, let's just send this out. That'll make the cut. And then when it comes to my send outs that are more lookbooks, I pre-style everything. So everything that I shoot will make it into the newsletter. So, and I have like a rack of clothes dedicated to like styling out. So if you're on the rack, then you'll be in the newsletter.
It has to be something that I would buy and that I just don't have the money to buy at the moment. And then sometimes I think like, who's someone who like doesn't really like me? And if they were opening this, they would be like, ugh, I hate to admit it, but she like kind of knows her stuff.
Who else? In the back there. We'll do both of you, and then one of you go first.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question about, I guess, the new Los Angeles apparel store. If you were talking about new shopping experiences within the city, just thoughts on that brand coming back within the retail landscape.
The question is about Los Angeles apparel coming back and what we think about it. Does anyone have? I haven't been personally to the store. I went to lots of American apparel stores, but yes.
I have not been, but one thought is, I think we are on the precipice of like this idea of sex. Like I just feel like I keep seeing sex, hearing about sex, and I think there is this, sorry to be so vulgar.
We're edging. From sax to sex.
This is a French store.
But I think it's interesting, like Bruce Weber just released a whole book and like all of his images are so like sex heavy, and like I'm pretty sure Terry Richardson, wherever he will come back. So I think the opening of the LA apparel speaks to just, I think, this feeling that has been dormant because we've been in such a, I would think like a cancel culture, like very polished, clean girl aesthetic, and I think now we're getting a little frisky.
Yeah, I feel like fashion is like kept telling everyone that it's really sexy for a really long time, and we're like, where, you know? But yeah, hopefully this new wave of sexy, and I agree with you, I do see that there's some kind of things coming around it. Haha. But it like makes room for some like new takes on it. I think it's kind of like a lot of rehashed sex. It's now so, you know, bogged down by scandal and not the good kind. So hopefully it just sort of opens up the door for brands or visions that are still sexy or newly sexy. I haven't been to the LA, bro. Go ahead.
This question I think be for all of you, including Emilia. I imagine you all each have at least one brand that you gatekeep. This is a safe space. If there was one brand that you could just be like, this is the brand that I normally gatekeep, you should absolutely go consider buying something from there. What is it and why? And bonus points if you buy it online, but it doesn't have to be in a shop online.
That's a really good. The question is, what's a brand that you gatekeep and why? And my brain is like, okay, speeding through my real safe searches. Does anyone want to?
I feel like you're like looking at a group of overshares.
I think like the brands I think of is that I guess I would technically gatekeep. Like they're small designers and I want them to survive. So like I think I mentioned Lauren Manoogian in just about every newsletter. People were like, you shut up about these sweaters. But like you want these brands that you really like, who you believe in, to do well. I think that's part of why we all do what we do.
I feel like I gatekeep Aritzia sometimes, but I love Aritzia.
No comment. I feel like I share everything, but I think there are so many brands, to Rachel's point, that I want to survive. Like that, the biggest. I keep bringing Saks up. I don't know why, but like the biggest thrill I get working at Saks would be meeting these new designers that were so hungry and so excited about what they were doing. And I think when you see someone that's so excited, you just want them to succeed. So I'm going to shout out Stofa. You should all go to the store on Grand Street. They're fantastic. I used to model with them.
Cool. If I'm gatekeeping anything, which means like not sharing it in my newsletter, is because I'm ashamed at how much money I spend, and I don't want anyone to know that. But I see Naomi Novi in the audience, and I see Daniela Jacobs was here. So like, yeah, I don't gatekeep my favorite brands. It's only the things that I feel shame about, personally.
I guess gate is maybe the wrong word. It was more so like the idea that, of course, a brand that maybe you have spoken to death, but one that had, I know it's hard, but it's like you had to choose one. They're just like, guys, to Rachel's point, we support them. They are incredible. Like for me, it's like Knickerbocker down over right now.
Yeah, I think these guys do a great. Read their newsletters. they're. Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone else who wants to shout out, we can take one more question.
Thinking about like alongside that way active to like make insert there is the like that we like one story on for that to they see good sis give it up shopping to the poster jeez 101 LA Vicky that or
The question is, why are high, like a store like Maxfield's in LA, why can they survive in LA and not in New York?
That's the history. This is the fight that the polarizing.
I mean, we do have like Ouroboros and If Boutique and and Mayboon. So we do have some, but I also think the big answer, unfortunately, is the real estate here is just even more expensive than it is in Los Angeles. And I think that's a huge issue for, at least I hear from a lot of people who own stores, or also from designers as well. Yeah.
Let's do one more. Go ahead.
Do you think that the fashion Substack bubble will pop, or is there more space for more writers?
The question is, do we think the Substack bubble will pop, or is there space for more writers?
Well, one thing that's interesting is that, like, if you look at 10 or 12 years ago, there were all of these fashion bloggers, including a woman on this stage who might be me. And, you know, there was like this kind of like, oh my God, is legacy media going to be able to compete with these bloggers and da-da-da-da? And basically what happened is legacy media just took a bunch of lessons from those people, and then like the survivors became influencers essentially. And there isn't really fashion, or there hasn't been fashion blogging in the way that there was for a long time. And now I think what we're seeing happen with Substack, and I would also extend this to like commentary on Instagram and TikTok, is that you have this new generation of voices again who are kind of like making legacy media look a little bit behind the ball. What's interesting is that from just purely from a pragmatic perspective, it's much more complicated. If you're to, you know this better than I do, like it's more complicated to make money from selling things for another company versus for selling them on your own Substack, right? So like if you're rounding up links for InStyle or for Harper's Bazaar, you're not getting that affiliate revenue, the magazine is. So I think that's something that is going to maintain, I think, the independence of a lot of these voices.
I think like definitely being part of the first wave of Substack, I don't think that that's going to be replicated exactly again. I don't know if you can, I mean, like any platform, I think like the early adopters get such a head start. I mean, it's just the rules of, you know, tech media. But I think it's becoming kind of more and more like universalized that there's going to be second waves and third waves. And like new voices are going to come up with fresher ideas and cool perspectives and doing something interesting with the tools that are available on Substack or those distribution channels. So I think hopefully we're approaching that. We'll see more voices really raise up and have a next gen.
And also, I think there are so many updates happening to Substack itself. Like, you can have a podcast on there. There's the notes. There's a little bit of everything on there. So to this point too, I think the different voices that are coming on the platform may be using it in different ways, which will give rise to fresh ideas and new takes.
Totally. I always say if you're thinking about it, do it. Don't question whether or not it's like on its way out, or like if you're interested and it's still going, and you should do it. Everyone give a massive round of applause to these gentlemen. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a photo of all of you while you're still here. Look good, look good, look good. Okay. You have 60 seconds, and then we're going to do the last panel. It's about gift guides. It's really fun. I think you should stick around.